Good evening. My name is Ricky Jackson. I'm better known as the Bow-Legged Chef. And the reason I'm called the Bow-Legged Chef, for one reason, I love to cook, and as you can see, I am bow-legged. So that's where the Bow-Legged Chef come from. Technically, I'm not a chef as in the college term chef, but I use the word chef because I like to cook and I consider my food just as good as a college educated chef. Today I'm going to cook a meal that's an old standard called Hamburger Patties, rice and gravy. Most of you may know it by the name of Salisbury steak. And let's get started and get this meal together. And it takes about a good 20 minutes to put it together. Doesn't take long. We're going to start with 2 pounds of ground beef. This is 80-20, 80% beef and 20% fat. And we're going to add 2 tablespoons of garlic salt, we're going to add a tablespoon and a half of black pepper, 2 teaspoons of garlic salt, 2 tablespoons of taco seasoning. And the taco season is also optional. I prefer it in mine because it gives it a little kind of zesty zing taste. But if you don't really care for taco seasoning, you can leave it out. The third seasoning is a little bit of lemon pepper, 1 tablespoon of lemon pepper, and 1 teaspoon of cumin. And once you get that all in, you're going to mix it up with a fork. You want to mix it with a fork, preferably, instead of your hand, because I've noticed over the years, mixing, especially ground beef, loose ground beef, with your hands, it tends to clump and stick together. And the seasoning doesn't get through it thoroughly as it should. So if you mix it with a fork, it'll stay light, as well as you'll have fluffy burgers, which will, in the end, produce juicy burgers. Okay, now we're going to set that aside for a moment, and we're going to get an onion. We got to have an onion in it to give it a little flavor. And I got my little gadget here. This is one of the best little kitchen aids you can have. I found this about, oh God, maybe 10 or 15 years ago. And it's called a Dyson chopper. And pretty much you could just slice up anything you want. Carrots, tomatoes, onions. I've even done it with rutabagas, as hard as they are. And just put them in here, spin it around a couple of times, and that crying days of cutting up onions is a thing of the past. You don't have to worry about it. But this is a great little kitchen item. And if you get a chance to get you one, I recommend everybody to pick up one. It is so easy and so quick. A little bit more. Takes about a good minute and a half to 2-minute turn, and you'll have finely chopped onions. And the best part, no tears. The best part, no tears. Alrighty. There we go. You have your chopped onions. And that's going to go into the bowl. Mix all those onions in for that good flavor. And by the way, this is about a cup of onions. We're going to get that all mixed in good. And as you get it mixed in, you can pretty much see it's staying loose and fluffy. You want that. You definitely want that. You don't want that packed in onion because, like I said, your burgers will be flat and they will tend to also cook uneven. Now, you want to get a plate and start making your patties. And I guess each patty probably is about a good anywhere from about a handful to about a handful and a half of ground beef. It depends on how big you want your patties. How big you want your patties. Now I'm going to go ahead and make all these patties out, and I will be back to show you to get them in the skillet and to let you know how long to cook them. So I'll see you in a few minutes. All right. As you can see, I have all the patties made, and they're ready to go in the pan. I also have our rice here that I am going to make some rice and gravy with. And let me show you something. When you purchase rice, a lot of times rice is not clean, and oftentimes it have little specks of trash in it. Say for instance like this right here, it looks like a bug, but it's not. This is actually a grain of rice that somehow is scorched right there on the end. So always check your rice and double check your rice, because I found rice like this before in it, as well as I found little, like I said, tiny stones, little tree branches. I don't know how that get in there, but even small little branches get in there. But just double check your rice before you put it on to cook. And that's going into a pot of hot boiling water. And now we're going to get our beef patties on. I got some Western oil, and it's probably about 300 degrees. And we're going to get our burgers in so they can start cooking. And you want to put as many in the pan as you can, but you don't want to overcrowd, because the more you have in the pan, the harder it will be to flip them, as well as the temperature of the pan will stay kind of low. So about maybe 5-6 burgers at tops. Okay. I think that's going to get it for now. And I'm cooking these on about between 7 and 8. Between 7 and 8. That's about a medium high. About a medium high. And they are cooked through and through on both sides at that temperature. Toward the end, you might want to lower your temperature once they start getting completely done, due to the fact you don't want to burn your grease, because this same grease is the grease that you're going to use to make your gravy off of the patties. And once you make the gravy, you're going to put your patties back into the gravy. But we shall be back shortly, and I'll show you the finished product. But as you can see now, our burgers, or Salisbury steaks as you want to call them, they're completely done. So now I'm going to remove them from the grease. And we're not going to need all this grease to make gravy, but we're going to use some of it. So I'm going to pour some of this grease off, because if you don't pour some of your grease off and try to make gravy, it'll make, but you're going to have an extremely amount of grease on top of the gravy, and you don't want that. You want a gravy, not grease. So we're going to take this grease here and pour about half of it off into a bowl. And you see all that good stuff down there at the bottom? That's going to make your gravy. That is that good beef droppings that have caramelized and stuck to the bottom of the pan. And now we're going to add probably about 4 to 5 tablespoons of flour. This is self-rising flour, and like I said, about 4 to 5 tablespoons of flour it takes to make a good big pan of gravy. And some of you may like your gravy light, some may like it dark. Me, myself, I prefer dark gravy. I only eat white gravy if I'm eating it for breakfast. But most of the time, if I'm eating dinner, I prefer dark gravy, a real dark brown gravy. And you're going to leave this, turn your fire back up all the way to high, as high as it'll get. Because now what you're trying to do, and just continue to stir. You have to stir it. If you don't stir, it's going to stick. You continuously stir, keeping your eyes on that flour, and make sure that you is scraping every inch of the pan so the flour won't burn. And another reason you want to cook it until it's a good brown is because you want to cook off that flour taste also. You don't want your gravy tasting like flour. You want your gravy to taste like the steak patties that you cook. And remember, all that goodness is down at the bottom of the pan stuck there, so you got to loosen it up in order to make the gravy and season your gravy. See how it's slowly beginning to turn a light golden brown? I'm going to let it get a little bit more browner. I still feel a little bit of the caramelized onions and beef on the bottom of the pan, but it'll eventually turn loose. The more you scrape and whisk the bottom of the pan, the easier it'll pop up and season your flour. Okay, a little browner. Normally takes about a good, I normally cook my flour when I'm making gravy about a good 5, maybe 6 minutes in order to get rid of the flour taste and to accomplish that golden brown that I'm looking for. It's almost right before you get to it where you smell it burning. That's the stage I like to get it to. That way you're going to be guaranteed a great, smooth, creamy brown gravy. And we're slowly getting there. See how dark it's getting? Got a little more of that goodness stuck right there that just seems as though it don't want to come up. But once I put my water in there, it'll all come up. And we got our rice boiling away over there. I've already washed it and returned it to the stove with about a tablespoon of salt to season it. So it's cooking away. All right. Now this is the critical point where you want to get your water and put your water in there. Because if you don't hurry up, the gravy is going to burn. Now this is going to thicken up real thick. And it's according to how thick you want your gravy. Depends on how much water you add. I like my gravy somewhat thick. I don't like it too thin. But and just whisk away. Still leave your temperature on high. Don't turn it down. Yeah, let that continue to, boy, that's some pretty gravy. Beautiful gravy. And just whisk. I need a little bit more water. And that's it. That's your Salisbury steak gravy. Now you can taste it. It might need more salt and pepper, and it might not. Chances are, if you season your beef patties well, the gravy won't need any seasoning, because remember the caramelized goodness stuck at the bottom of the pan. That will season the gravy. So more than likely, you won't need any more salt or pepper. But just taste it, take the back of a spoon and taste it. And let me show you how to do that to keep from getting burned. You'll take a spoon, a teaspoon or a tablespoon, and you'll just wipe it over the top of the gravy like such. Shake it off. and just run your finger across there. See that line I left in there? That lets you know how thick it is. And see, it's not burning my finger, and you can taste it that way. No, this gravy doesn't need anything. It's perfect. It's perfect. Alrighty. Well, that's how you make the gravy. I'll be back in a few minutes with the finished product, and we'll be able to set our plates and get ready to eat. Join me in a few. Alright, as you can see, the finished product is here. We have our rice over here, and by the way, this is parboiled rice, which I love it because it cooks easier and it has a more full body grain. And these are our Salisbury steaks, better known as hamburger patties and gravy. I'm going to go ahead now and fix my plate and have a little something to eat. Wish you guys could join me because it sure smells good. And I'm almost positive it tastes just as good as it smells. Let's get a little of these patties here and some of that gravy. Look at that, how thick and rich that is. Wow. That is some good looking gravy. What you think? Right on top of that steak. And I'm going to have me a bite to eat. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. And if you like the recipe and enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit like. And also don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Have a blessed day and also be someone's blessing. Take care.